Today we're going to talk about outside cooking. These are the 3 most common outside cooking grills and smokers. This is the Blackstone, this is the Griddle. This is your fast, quick, flash cook. I like to put chicken on here, flip it over, smash burgers. You can get crazy like a sumo steakhouse and do your fried rice and eggs. This is just a quick, get it done, bring the entire family out, y'all sit down, I'm about to start serving y'all. The Blackstone. This is the pellet smoker. The way this works, you throw pellets in there that you buy, well, pretty much anywhere now. You can have different flavors or different oaks or different woods. You throw those in there, an auger comes through and feeds a heating element underneath, and you've got a cook or a smoke here. This is good because you get a smoky flavor without the time commit that it takes from a green egg or a stick smoker. So this was kind of the medium cook, right? So you get home at 6, you need to eat by 7, 7:30. Man, roll with this one. Several different types. This is a Rectech. I haven't noticed a big difference in the different brands, and I've had several, but this one is a good one. Lastly, we've got the Dome Smoker. This is the green egg, and there's several different kinds out there. This, you use lump coal, get a good burn. You can figure out what temperature you want by regulating the air in and the air out. So if you want this smoking hot, you let air in. If you want to choke it down, then you decrease the airflow here and here, and you can have it stay at 200, 300, 400, whatever you want. This, great for, I've got some time, I'm gonna cook some really good meat. Nothing does a steak better, and a lot of that has to do with the temperature that you can get this to, and you can get that crispy on the texture of the steak. This is your slow, enjoy the cook device. We're gonna talk about beef and steaks specifically. What I've got here is 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. Both New York strips, one is a Wagyu and one is a grass finished beef. Couple things here. Wagyu literally just means Japanese beef, period. Years and years ago, people realized that beef that came out of Japan had a better flavor, had a better marbling. They retrofitted a big airplane in the early 80s, brought over a bunch of Akaushi and Kurohishi Wagyu beef, cows. Wagyu means Japanese beef. Kobe is a area of Japan that just happens to have good beef. So Kobe isn't necessarily a type of cow, it's just a region of Japan that produces good beef. Several different types of Wagyu. If you take and cross a Wagyu with like a Red Angus or a Black Angus and it's 50% Wagyu, then technically we can call that Wagyu. Really works well in Texas because Wagyu cows aren't very heat tolerant, whereas Texas cows are. And Texas cows don't feed up as well as Wagyu. So then once again, if you've got a cross, then you've got a Texas cow mixed with a Wagyu Japanese cow. It becomes heat tolerant and it feeds up well. So in my opinion, don't want to skip the feed up process. And in my opinion too, the longer you feed that sucker up, the better it's going to taste on the fork. And so what I've got here is some of that genetics and then some of our just regular Texas Angus genetics. Opposite ends of the spectrums. This is a grass finished steak, meaning it was never fed up. So literally went from the pasture to the processor, did not have a time of feeding up or fattening. A lot of people think this is good for health reasons. They don't want fat or they don't want any of the extra corn and grains that they're fed up on. This one, on the other hand, was fed up for probably 300 or 400 days that really allowed that steak, the cattle, to get bigger, and then obviously the marbling. The main difference here between Wagyu and non-Wagyu is actually the intramuscular fat. So you can see here, this has fat within the muscle, this one doesn't. A lot of our Texas beef here, you'll get fat around the edges, it's just hard to get that intramuscular. Now, a lot of people think that fat is a bad thing, but this is actually filled with a lot of linoleic acid, which is actually kind of found in salmon. It's not like this is a much unhealthier steak than this one. It's just kind of going back to the 80s, people thought that fat was really bad and people can't really shake that. Even though, you know, fat is made up your brain cells, a lot of your neurosystem, you have to have those fats. Wagyu, grass finished. Now you can take this, once again, this is an extreme, right? There's gonna be several in between. You can have regular Black Angus that is fed up for a longer time, so you're gonna have a little bit more fat content and less lean, and then you could have even more past this. Now, A5, several things. People think, hey, I'm growing A5 cows. A5 is just a grading system for Wagyu or Japanese beef. A5 would be the most marbled. So when you go to a steakhouse and you order A5, that means it meets a certain requirements where it's almost so white that it's marbled. Super rich, super hard to achieve that actually on the hoof. You can't raise A5 beef. You can try, right? And mix this and that and the other, and hopefully that steak comes out with an A5 marbling system. But A5 just means A1 through 5. That's the way to classify Japanese beef, whereas you've got choice prime, all that other stuff over here in America. One thing that there'll be a difference in taste on this is going to be richer, obviously because of the linoleic acid and the intramuscular fat. This one may have a little bit of a gamey flavor to it because it literally went from grass finished, wasn't fed up, to table. And so like a white-tailed deer or any type of wild animal, they had the same diet. You may have a little bit of a gamier flavor on the grass-finished beef. That is your two types, and once again, extremes of steak selection. I personally like the strip. I'm a texture guy. I don't want it to be too chewy. I don't want it to be too coarse. This meets the texture that I like. This is how we cook a steak. Several items that you need. You need, number one, your smoker getting ready. I like the green egg. You need your smoker bricks. You need your Dell's seasoning. And then this is actually Eads out of Amarillo. I put it in here, I buy it in bulk. This stuff is amazing. Need all these three. I've tried every different combination from every different place. I get friends' feedback, I get family's feedback, and then of course my own taste buds tell me as well. Get your meat thermometer ready, and then you need a fork. So for the meat prep, obviously these don't need to be frozen, right? They need to be sitting in the refrigerator overnight. Put some holes in it, and then hit it with some Dell's. I don't think these need to marinate for hours on end, but I do like a little bit of marinade. Flip that over, do the same thing all over again. What we've got here on the right is a grass-finished New York strip. What we've got here on the left is a Wagyu New York strip. Different types of cows, different types of flavors, different types of textures. Same thing here. Once again, I don't think this needs to sit overnight. I don't add my seasoning till right before it gets on the grill. I don't want to mess with the texture. So we're gonna let that sit while we go out and get that grill as hot as we can possibly get it. So when prepping the grill for the steaks, there's several things that I like. I like the big green egg lump coal. I've tried several others. This one just has the flavors that I like. And then I also like this black cherry smoker bricks. You won't use this right off the bat, but I add that while my steaks are resting. You wanna get your coal level where you've got a little bit of room between the grate and the coals. Some people start their grill with a little bitty cube lighter. I don't know that I have the patience for that, so I use a torch. So the goal of this is to get that fire as hot as you possibly can. We're talking 700 to 800, 900 degrees, whatever it is, because the first part of the steaks is the sear. That's the most important part. So you want to get this as hot as you can possibly get it. You open up the air here, you leave the lid open, and you want this fire to get smoking hot. So outside we got our grill piping hot. We've got our steaks that have been marinating for 10, 15 minutes. I like to get my first coat of seasoning on it, knowing that this is going to be the grill side. Once again, this is Eads, E-D-E-S, out of Amarillo, Texas. So you got it good there. We're gonna take it in, flop the seasoning inside on the grill, and then season it while it's on the grill. So a couple things. We've got our egg piping hot. If it's a windy day, it'll happen easier. Put mine on a boat seat so you can get it to swivel to the wind. Once again, the more airflow, the hotter the grill. We've got a hot spot over here on the right. That's where I'm gonna place the steaks because we need to sear these puppies. What you're gonna do is you're gonna sear this, set your timer, season the non-seasoned side while it's on the grill. 90 seconds each side is what you're gonna sear this for, or 3 minutes total. You want that to be as hot as it possibly can. You sit there and wait on your clock. Just hit 1.5 minutes on one side. So we're gonna flip these guys. So this grill was about 700 or 800 degrees. Now we're to the end of our sear phase. 3 minutes exact. Hot side up. Two things, we're gonna let that rest for 20 minutes, and then we're gonna take our green egg down to 400. The way we'll achieve that, leave 1/4 inch at the bottom, leave 1/4 inch at the top, and watch this come down from 700 or 800, back down to 400 at a steady 400. So, brought the meat back into the kitchen because my dog enjoys steak. I cut it one more time with seasoning, just a light seasoning this time. Put the seasoning away, 20 minutes. 10 minutes from now, I'm gonna go throw 3 or 4 of these on the smoke and get that smoke flavor kicking. We're about 10 minutes into the rest. I'm gonna take 3 or 4 of these smoker bricks. I'm gonna go throw these on the fire that should be sitting at 400 right now. And these suckers got 10 more minutes. Came out, smoker's at 400, so our method worked well. I'm gonna open this up, stick my smokers on the hot part, put my grate back down, tap, tap, tap it in. Shut this and steak is going on in 10. Just hit the 20-minute mark. Grill's at 400. We should have a good smoke because of those smoker bricks. We're gonna go head outside. Got outside, pretty close to 400. We've got our good smoke going. We're gonna throw these steaks on. Kind of a good rule of thumb is it's gonna take about 3.5 to 4.5 minutes per side based on the thickness. So this one will probably be more like 4, and this one will probably be more like 3.5. Told you that dog likes steak. Hit the timer. Our go-to is gonna be somewhere around 3.5 to flip it. Close that dome. So you never cook a steak based on time. It's always to temp. I'm gonna pull it out right when it hits the 3 and 130. Medium rare is 130 to 140. I like to be on the rare side of medium, but you wanna make sure that right when it hits into the 130s, you pull that dude off and let it rest. I was talking to my neighbor the other day, across the fence like home improvement. We were sitting there having like a 12-minute conversation. I was like, hey, I'm gonna go inside and feed the dog. He's like, hey, I've got some steaks on the grill, let me go grab those. It had to have been beef jerky at that point. There's a fine art to this. Set your clock, keep a watch on it, because if you ruin these steaks, it's not good for the family. Rolling up on 4 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip both of these guys, knowing that I've got another 3 to 4.5 minutes left on these. We're about 6 minutes into this cook. Just gonna go ahead and check temps. Sneaking up on 120 and sneaking up on 126. So this guy only has about a minute left. This guy probably has 2 or 3. Grass finished guy here who is sitting at 132. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this guy. Double check on our Wagyu. We need about 10 more degrees on this guy. 8 minutes. This guy is hitting 132, 3, just like we want it. We're gonna let smoker shut off, no oxygen, it will go out on itself. We're gonna go let those rest in the kitchen for a second. Just pulled off these steaks. They're both around 130 degrees. We're gonna let them rest for a second. Once again, you've got your grass finished strip and you've got your Wagyu. Sometimes I'll throw some Wagyu butter up top, but not always. So rested a couple minutes. It's gotta rest a little bit longer to really show up red, but that's gonna be your medium rare grass finished. So we've got, should be somewhere in that medium rare. Remember, this doesn't have as much fat. This is our Wagyu. It should be in the medium rare. It sure looks overcooked, but it's not.
Shows up pretty pink.
Grass finished Angus. It's got that smoky flavor that I like, that you can't get any other way. And we've got our Wagyu. That's what I'm talking about.